All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Stephanie Michele Sweigart, a licensed and practicing speech language pathologist out of Los Angeles, California. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here today with SpeechTherapyPD.com. This is a special episode today. We're going to do a few things different. As you can see, we actually are lucky to have two guests instead of just one here with us today. So I want to welcome our guests, Nick and Ben. Thank you both so much for being here today on this episode.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I know we're both excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm so excited to have you guys here with us today. Now, just for those of the listeners that are on, maybe if you could both just kind of tell us where you're coming from, what state you're coming out of, and what your role is as an SLP, or what population you're working with, or maybe what your passion is in the field.
So I'm Penn. I am in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I work for Prince George's County Public Schools as an SLP in an elementary and a middle school. And I also work as an associate at the Siskin Stuttering Center. And stuttering is my passion. I'm a person who stutters. It was initially what got me into the field. And it's a pretty great job, I think.
Welcome.
Sorry. My name's Nick Brow. I'm also a speech therapist, just like Ben. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I work for the William Penn School District at an elementary school as well. I also am an associate and work at the Siskin Stuttering Center. And I also am a clinical supervisor at Western Michigan University, teaching students how to work with clients who stutter. I think I got into the field of speech therapy. Well, yeah, if you haven't noticed, I stutter, so I had some exposure in being in therapy myself as a child. But I think my real interest in the field of speech therapy has just been, or one of the main interests has been connecting with other people and like hearing other people's stories, and that's always been a draw for me. But sorry to interrupt, and thanks for having us.
Yes, and welcome. And I didn't know Pennsylvania. So I'm born and raised Pennsylvania. I'm from Harrisburg, so I'm like an hour and change away. Now I'm in Los Angeles right now. I've been here since 2016, but Keystone State, you had me at Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Well, welcome both. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are both SLP experts in the fluency area, and I'm excited to have you on today because we know that May 8th through May 13th is National Stuttering Awareness Week for 2023. And this is a time when members of the National Stuttering Association work with SLP specifically to really spread education, especially to those individuals who stutter that might be feeling maybe isolated or feeling that they're alone. So the National Stuttering Week is an amazing time for us to, it's just such a wonderful time to get together and to really think about how can we celebrate, how can we educate, how can we just spread the word and knowledge as it relates to stuttering. So this is the perfect time to have you guys on, and for everybody that is watching these episodes, just in ways that we can start to learn, if we're not already experienced in this area, how we can work with a client that stutters on our caseload. So Nick and Ben, we know that you have a course on SpeechTherapyPD.com called Acceptance-Based Therapy for School-Age Children. Where do I begin? And I love that title. It calls to me because it's the golden question that we have for you on this episode. And it really is, what would be 3 takeaways that speech clinicians should know when they're beginning, in your title, when they're beginning to work with someone who stutters?
Yeah, good question. I think that for me, the first thing that comes to mind is to build a trusting relationship with your child or student. Talking about stuttering can be really hard for kids and scary. And so I think building that foundation that the clinician is someone the child can trust, and creating a safe space in the therapy room is a really good starting point, and kind of a prerequisite to working with kids who stutter.
I love that. I love the component of trust and a safe space, because I don't know if this is accurate, but I remember always thinking that when we're talking about fluency, that it's 50% of that is strategies, but 50% of that is emotions. And the emotions is such a key piece. So you mentioned feeling trust and building that relationship and allowing them to feel safe in the space of working with you.
Yeah, really important. What do you think, Nick?
I think it's a good question. I think it's hard to answer in 3 points, right? You should go check out our course. I hopefully give a broader answer than kind of what we're talking about today. But it makes me think that whatever we do in therapy, right, as Ben was saying, that relationship is really important. But another thing that's really important about working with kids, both young and older, right, kindergarten through high school, is that we're communicating to them that stuttering is okay. And by doing that, we're helping them not fight their own stuttering as much, and communicate more comfortably. And so I think whatever in our talk gets into more like, what does this look like in therapy, right? It's not the idea that like, okay, stuttering is okay. We don't need to, there is no therapy to be done, because there's a difference between stuttering is okay and is there struggle or there's no struggle, right? Struggling is different from this idea of just being okay with stuttering. So thinking about when we're starting, it's about, well, there's lots of points, but stuttering is okay. Something else I think about is the idea that it's okay to talk about talking, especially with older kids. It's not always about jumping in and saying, all right, we're going to do this strategy, here we go. But after building that relationship, like talking about talking, what's talking like for you? What's stuttering like for you? Is this a student who can talk about stuttering? Is this a student who likes stuttering, who doesn't like stuttering? Stuttering is not all, students don't always come to speech therapy in the schools and stuttering's a problem. So sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And just a third thing, in our acceptance-based stuttering therapy, we actually don't use any strategies and don't focus at all on fluency either. Our goal is to have comfortable, forward-moving, spontaneous, and joyful communication, and that can include a lot of disfluencies. So to figure out how to do that, we definitely recommend checking out the whole course. But to sort of just give you a preview, we aren't focused on putting a strategy or tool on top of a child's stuttering pattern, but instead looking at what they're doing in their stuttering pattern and thinking about what is interfering with comfortable, forward-moving communication, and thinking about taking away some of those things that are contributing to struggle. Because in our view, there's nothing wrong with stuttering. It's all about how the child is experiencing it, and helping them to communicate in the most joyful and comfortable way possible.
Wow, I love that. So we're taking away strategies and we're looking more at what is, if I'm hearing you right, what is interfering that might be contributing to the stuttering. Would you be able to give maybe a few examples of what would be typical things that maybe you've seen with some of your clients that could be interfering?
Sure. Yeah. So if a child is if a child is if a child is starting their sentence over, or maybe closing their eyes during a moment of disfluency, or saying and like in some of these filler words, all of those secondary behaviors are learned, actually. And when kids first start stuttering, they generally aren't doing all of those things. So we are working on separating out what is just sort of normal disfluency that kids who stutter are born with, and what are some of these other behaviors that they've learned over the years to hide their stuttering, or to get through a moment of stuttering. And are those behaviors actually helping them to communicate easier, or are they kind of getting in the way a little bit and contributing to more struggle in the speech pattern?
I want to add that something we talk more about in the course, but something like, if you're listening to this now or watching this now, that you could think about with your student who stutters right now is just, when I hear them stutter and when I hear them talk, okay, yeah, they're stuttering, right? Maybe they have repetitions, maybe they're prolonging sounds, maybe they're blocking when they're talking. But have you really taken a moment and listened, and while looking as well, to see what else are they doing? Because there's a good chance anything extra that you're seeing might be some of these avoidance or escape behaviors that Ben was giving an example of.
Oh, wow. Now, do you have a checklist or things that you like for a new clinician, maybe to kind of know what to look for? Is there handouts or any resources? Do you guys have any websites where you have more information about this? How could people find you and find out more about your resources that you have? I know you have the course on speechtherapypd.com available. Do you have any other resources, websites, or channels on social media, for example, where people could find out more about you?
Definitely. Our website has a lot of resources on it. It has a description of our therapy approach. It has journal articles that we've written on acceptance-based therapy for stuttering. Our website is stutteringcenter.com. And then we also have a YouTube channel called Open Stutter that has stories of current clients and past clients who are telling their stories about their journeys in acceptance-based stuttering therapy.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so what we'll do is, for anybody that's listening, below every episode that we have on this channel, you will find links for myself, for speechtherapypd.com. We will put the links for you guys, Ben and Nick, below this episode for people to be able to click on to access those resources. So thank you. I'm so glad that you guys have a place that we can go. And this sounds amazing, your YouTube channel where people are sharing stories. I love that. I appreciate that. And I want to check that out. I was not aware of that. That's very cool, something that you guys are doing. And on this episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We actually have an SLP that submitted a question for you guys that I wanted to share. And this is Kat Grice. She's from Bells and Whistles Speech Therapy Inc. and she's in Redondo Beach, California. And she submitted a question for today's show. And she is asking, and I love this because this is right up my alley. She is asking if you guys know, if you, Nick and Ben, know if there's any research that you are aware of that involves mindfulness activities to include in speech therapy for clients who stutter. And she says that she's asking this because clients have said in moments of stuttering that with her, while they're with her, that they almost feel that they are out of their body and not present in the moment during their stuttering. I don't know if this is something you're familiar with or if you know of any research to share in that area.
Yeah, great question. Mindfulness activities definitely have a place in effective acceptance-based stuttering therapy. We want our clients to be in the moment of their stuttering, to feel what's going on, to recognize what they're doing in their moments of stuttering, and to feel what that's like. We also want them to feel their feelings and think their thoughts. Pressing the hard feelings often leads to those feelings just growing in intensity. So instead, bringing them to the surface and exploring them and sitting with them can help kids and adults who stutter to move forward in a healthier way. And also this mindfulness concept of letting go. Our therapy approach is all about letting go. It's letting go of control of the moment of stuttering, letting go of trying to control the thoughts of others, So there's a lot of overlap between a lot of mindfulness concepts and effective acceptance-based stuttering therapy.
You are speaking my language. I'm loving what I'm hearing coming out of your mouth, because you're talking about being present. You're talking about, you brought up thoughts, you brought up emotions, feeling it. I'm assuming when you say feeling the stuttering experience, maybe feeling it in your body, if there's any struggles, or feeling what's happening with your muscles. So just being awake and alive to what's happening right in the moment. And you said letting go too, and I really appreciate that when I hear that, because I think about emotions and the intelligence and the wisdom that they bring. Our emotions want to be seen, they want to be recognized. We can label them, we can become aware of them, we can sort of learn to balance our emotions inside of our body. And how do we balance that? We kind of connect to what does that emotion feel like in my body right now? What am I experiencing? And then letting them go, like you say, letting them go. So we've accepted that acceptance piece you're talking about. We're accepted that it's okay that I'm feeling this way, that I'm having this emotion. Our emotions are constantly changing. They're like a weather system, and we're the sky, and they're always looking like something different. But it's okay to let them come in, to feel them, to move through them, and to let them go. And I really appreciate that, the way that you just explained how mindfulness can fit into fluency and a person who stutters, and being present and what their thoughts are, what they're thinking. And you said letting go of that control. It really is letting go of the control of what others are thinking. So I love all of that. I love that answer. I do think that mindfulness does have an important, vital role. I think presence has, being present and present non-judgmentally has a role in every aspect of our life, but I'm also a mindfulness person. So I feel that it's the foundation for everything. But yes, I absolutely loved how you explain those key components when you're looking at fluency, because thinking, our thoughts and emotions and body experiences are also important in the experience of someone who is stuttering. So I thank you for that answer. And yes, for Kat, who is listening, you can find scholarly articles available online that look at the effects of mindfulness training on individuals that stutter, and it goes back over a decade and more. So there is research out there, and I love that the research is growing and accumulating, and it's now moving into autism and all these other areas that we have in speech pathology. So it's very interesting. So for everybody who is listening, this is just, oh my gosh, the work that you're doing is amazing and beautiful and inspiring. There's just so many levels to it. So thank you for all that you're doing, for your service to the world, for the gift that you are offering to the world through all these different resources that you have. So for anybody who's listening, that for the month of May and you want to educate yourself further, take a deeper dive into this topic, further your education, check out acceptance-based therapy for school-age children who stutter. Where do I begin? And this is with multiple presenters. I believe there's 4, and this includes Nick and Ben. And by the end of this course, I believe it's a 2-hour course, participants will be able to look at ways to help school-age children who stutter, and with their goals. You'll be able to support developing collaborative stuttering therapy goals, and you're going to learn the acceptance-based therapy activities that they talk about. So make sure you get your hands on that course. If you are a member, then you have access to the library. You know that once you are a member for speechtherapypd.com, you get 1-year access to their entire library, which has over 800 live and on-demand courses available to you, such as the one that we're talking about today. And you're going to be able to earn those ASHA CEUs that are reported for you to ASHA. If you're new to speechtherapypd.com and you haven't yet had a subscription, no worries. You can actually access a free course to see what it's like. So give it a trial, and you can see below for the details on accessing a free course. If you found this video helpful, like I did, these are all of my 2 thumbs, but I'm doing them a bunch of times, many thumbs up right now. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up below. Feel free to leave a comment or ask a question. We will see you back here again next week as we are answering more of those golden questions that SLPs and SLPAs are asking. And we're bringing in industry-leading experts like Nick and Ben to get those answers for you. So join us again next week.